Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight. Got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet. Cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Hope you've had a great week. It's been exciting, especially in the world of Olympics. If anybody's been following that, started out with some interesting controversy and on to the actual games themselves. And man, I'll tell you, it has been quite the entertainment for sure across the pond, 8 hours ahead, and it's funny to watch it during the daytime and see what happens, and then pretend that you didn't know what happened and watch it again in prime time.
Yeah.
How are you
Interesting.
doing, man? How you doing, Danny?
I'm all right. I got a cold, which is fine. Um, it's gone through the at least the older people in the house. The two teenagers got it. I don't know the little kids got it yet, or they may have just, how kids are. It's something like that didn't bother me. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
right.
actually Marnie had to call into work. Had to
Mm.
take one day off, and then the next day, like Monday, she just canceled all of her morning meetings, I think, or something. And she's laying there in bed at like 7, and I come back in because I got up at 6:30. I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, I'm not going to work today. I'm gonna stay right here in bed, and I'm gonna take my meetings here. And I'm like, awesome, cool.
There
So
you
I've had a lot
go.
of opportunity to make good soup. I do um, a ginger ramen spicy soup, basically,
Okay. Yeah.
and it'll heat you up a little bit, so it opens you up, and then
Sounds
Marty
like the
loves that
perfect thing
it's
for the middle
ginger,
of the
so
summer to
right.
eat.
And summer colds are so weird. I'm like, I am not cold, but I'm cold. How can I be cold? Then I go outside, then I can't breathe, because it gets warmer out there. But yeah, it's no big deal. Take a hot shower, take some Dayquil, at least 2 cups of coffee. I'm good. At least another
That's-
hour or so before I need to take an old man nap.
That just sounds miserable, man. I hope that you feel better soon.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
I will be
Hey,
tearing up all through the thing, man.
oh, you're good. You're good. Well, that's a nice part because people that are listening can't see that. So, um, I just wanted to also thank all of the folks who jumped in and kind of had an interest in our t-shirts. We talked a little bit about this last week, but um, we're doing a kind of a two-run set. So we've got a group that are the folks that are going to Home Dad Con. I'm printing up stuff with my local printer, and then once we get that all situated, we're going to launch the actual t-shirt available on Teespring on our the National At Home Dad Network shop, so that way people can also get it and have it actually sent to their house, so they can wear it in their communities and whatnot. But I just wanted to say thanks. It's amazing to see just the support, and I'm just really grateful because, like we talked about last time, only needed really 12 to get going, and now got what 70 I think people that jumped in, and I was like that
Yeah.
just blew me away.
Right. And it's just like, wow, are there 70 people that listen to us every week? And there are obviously the metrics
Hmm.
show, but it's still, I don't know. It's almost disconcerting.
Yeah.
And I want to say thank you, of course, for everyone that's ordering a shirt, and thank you for listening. It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the other thing that's really cool with this is that this is going to allow us to, when we go to the podcast movement conference here in a couple weeks, to be able to actually, showcase the shirt and showcase the podcast while we're walking around, and hopefully, drum up some interest and see what happens from that.
Hmm.
I feel like there's going to be lots of people and lots of different companies and things there. And we are definitely a very niche podcast, but at the same time, too, we're a very powerful podcast in what it is that we're putting out there. And if there's one thing that, I feel like we hear over and over again is just the resources for at-home dads is few and far between. And
Hmm.
I really want more and more people to hear what we've got to say and also find other things that are within the organization for dads. So I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Hey, so Olympics, and then we'll get to our
Yeah,
guest. So Olympics, man, has been exciting. Some really interesting things that have taken place. One um, is the fact that the U.S. women's rugby team won their very first medal ever yesterday.
nice.
They won a bronze medal, and I will tell you what, these athletes are definitely changing the game of rugby. One in particular player on their team, she has been very just outspoken about the fact that you can be feminine and be an athlete at the same time. And one
Right.
of the ways that she does that is through just wearing lipstick. And she's basically known for it. I'm trying to find her name and I'm scrambling to find it, but basically it's been really wild just to see that team and her just um her influence especially within the sport itself. And it's not just like she's having effects on like the sport internationally just with this one thing. And I these ladies are freaking powerhouses. I mean, they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And the shot
Yeah,
putter too. And they're both 5'10".
yeah,
I read an article about on this one. They're both 5'10" and they're both about 200 pounds. And the article basically says this isn't what we're told beauty looks like.
yeah,
And it's true. It's the message we get is, oh no, you have to be thin, you have to be very, I don't know. I I I I have a different standard of beauty, obviously. I think I'm
I like
beautiful.
some.
So
I
I've
like.
got
I like some meat on
yeah.
my ladies.
Oh man. But yeah, but they are solid athletes first. But you can see like the
Hmm.
shot putter and she's wearing makeup and she has makeup tips on her Instagram and has a lot of
Yeah.
amazing eye makeup work that she's done. She actually goes out and or one of them goes out and buys products that drag queens wear,
Hmm.
specifically because it's high endurance. It's makeup that you can wear and you're going to get hot and sweaty and it's not going to smear all over your face, right? And that's something I never thought about. I mean, I've never worn makeup, so I don't, obviously not in my wheelhouse. But just having that moment where they step up and go, no, I'm beautiful. And if you
Yeah.
look like me, you're beautiful too. And that's one absolute truth, capital T truth, but a huge change. And they've had people reach out to them on Instagram and TikTok and what have you, where they say, I never would have thought that,
Yeah.
but now I do.
Yeah.
And I
The
and I
Amer
love that.
the American athlete that I was talking about is Iona Meyer. She is or Mayer. It's Maher. I tell you what, man, I've seen her run down the field and just literally strong arm ladies to the ground. And I'm just like, holy crap. Like, she could break me. I think she could break most men, honestly. But at the same time, like, it's just wild. People talk about, the high impact of things like football and soccer and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But ain't nothing like rugby.
No.
They ain't wearing no gear. So
Mm-mm.
they hit the ground or hit each other. It's quite a thing. I saw one where I forget, I think it was like the New Zealand team or something, but you can literally throw your teammate like up in the air and as long as you hold on to them. And this one woman, they threw her up in the air and they held on to her like just by like her thighs, and she like grabs this thing. And no joke, the woman that threw her up in the air, like they bend backwards together while she's holding her, and then she's able to like spring forward, and I'm like
Oof.
watching it in slow motion. I'm just like, oh, my 40-year-old back is killing me
Right.
just watching this thing. But just amazing athletes, and so just really appreciate you know all the work they put into it. And a lot of these athletes too, they work two and three jobs like on the off season. I found out,
Hmm.
like, so that's the other thing that's pretty wild. So their accomplishments really great. The soccer team was doing some amazing things as well. They've been, just hammering it down. And the U.S. gymnastics team won gold. Simone
Noise.
Biles and her crew, they just
Bringing it.
yeah, they just basically sweeping the mat with people. So um, the other thing I thought was cool, the men's gymnastics team won bronze. One of their guys on the team actually had a very serious injury about 18 months ago and like shattered like his leg or something like that during like a while he was like doing his routine or something.
Mm,
And they were showcasing kind of what happened. But he's a Georgia boy. He is not apparently like your typical gymnast in some ways because he's they basically run horses and work with horses. Like he's a cowboy basically down there in Georgia. And it's pretty interesting to like see what his family goes through and what he does to train these horses and stuff. And here he is on the team and just ripping it up. And there's another guy too who they started to give him the name Clark Kent because of him wearing glasses and just the way he looks. But he's a pommel horse specialist and he is phenomenal. And so just the combined effort of all of them, like they ended up winning a bronze medal. And they went through a lot. I mean,
yeah.
the guy from Georgia during the high bar, he actually faulted once, actually
Oh,
once or twice or something like that. But he had some issues, but he ended up pulling through, and just things like that. Like you just see these different athletes go through all of that stuff. Ireland's men's like one of their swimmers for the 800 freestyle, I believe, won
hmm
their very first medal in swimming, like or in that race or whatever. That was
nice.
really cool. Yeah, it's just been neat to see just these different different athletes winning these medals. And also too, like some of them, it's like the first time they've ever held an Olympic medal. And so it's really cool to like see they're like, that's really heavy. So, and they've got pieces of the Eiffel Tower in them, as what I've heard too, that's really cool
Oh,
too.
wow. Cool. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's amazing. And
Now,
also, because you
yeah, go
mentioned him
ahead.
having multiple jobs, I just
Yeah.
want to say this before we get Flavor Flav,
Yes, I was getting there.
right? Right? Sponsoring the water polo team
I love
because
it.
they just don't have the ability, and it's amazing because I always think, well, you're an Olympic athlete, you got everything, you're completely paid for. Why would you have to do anything? And that's absolutely not what it is. And the water polo team probably needed everything at that point. Like they had the
Yeah.
skills and that's it. And I love it, especially because it's Flava Flav. And I'm like, I read the article, I think, yesterday morning, and I went, wait a minute. The flavor? I mean, like, of course, the
Mm-hmm.
who else could it be? No one else would go by that name, right? It was amazing. So him and then Snoop Dogg coming
Snoop
in,
Dogg,
which,
yeah.
oh man,
Dude, he got to carry the torch and then he's hanging out with Simone Biles' parents and just I
giant
mean,
joint shaped torch.
I did not have Snoop Dogg doing the Crip Walk on my bingo card with the Olympic torch, followed by him basically becoming like the US Olympic mascot for
Right?
as well for the Olympics. So,
hmm That's what he does. That
but
man is all charisma.
yeah, he's a great guy. And that's the thing, man. It's like 90s rappers to the rescue.
hmm Yep. 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 Yep.
Oh man. So yeah, so very entertaining and I'm sure it will continue to be entertaining in the days to come. So that's exciting. Um Also too before we get to our guest, we are well under 80 days now till
Mhm.
home dadcon, which is insane and exciting all at the same time. So yeah,
79 days.
there's still time to get a ticket though. So if you're gonna do that, jump on it. Um,
Yeah, definitely get on it. Get your hotel. Well, you might
good
have
luck.
missed that boat. Get a roommate, get your
Yeah,
flights, and get in there. Yeah, this is going to
yeah,
be a great, great convention. It's going to be
it's gonna
amazing.
be a
I
good
can't
one.
wait to see everybody. I got so many people I haven't seen in a year at least, and I just cannot wait to get back and hug everybody. That's what I want to do. I want to hug every single person at the convention.
Definitely. Speaking of hugging everybody, one of the people that I always enjoy getting to hang out with and definitely getting a hug from is Greg Clapp. And
hmm
I'm
Good
very
man.
excited that Greg's going to be on the show today with us talking about dad's groups, which I feel like is the perfect conversation for him, and also part of he's going to be doing a breakout because he is been running a dad's group in the Milwaukee area for some time now, and just really passionate about it. So I was happy to see that the committee picked him to do that breakout, because I feel like that's definitely a necessity every year to have.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're going to get him on, but we'll have a quick break here, and then we'll be back with Greg. So we'll see you in a moment. Join us for the Dad's Run 5K in St. Louis 2024, benefiting the Fathers Overcoming Adversity Fund. Brand new to this year is the 1 mile Arch March. For our walkers or runners that want a short option, we got you. Participate in personal or virtually. The live event includes a 5K finisher medal, post-race food, and refreshments. Virtual participants complete their 5K the week of October 18th through the 20th, 2024, with a registration fee covering medal shipping. If you are unsure of how to train for 3.1 miles or think it too daunting, the plan Couch to 5K will get you there in 9 weeks. There's still time to start the journey. The link to this program can be found in any of the posts about the 5K on our social media platforms. Again, the date for the convention is October 17th through the 19th, 2024 in St. Louis, Missouri. In person to register for the 5K is $35. Virtual registration is $40. Sponsored by plantorun.com. To learn more, go to athomedad.org/Dads Run This House 5K. And we are back, and we have Greg Clapp with us. Greg, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing okay. I'm not sweating like you are, but
Good.
doing okay.
I'm happy for you. It's muggy up here, man.
It's wild, yeah, especially for being in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, the last couple of years we've been in a drought. I guess this is normal now. Danny probably feels more at home now. Finally,
I do.
Yeah,
I admit
that's
it.
good.
Yeah, you're talking about it being muggy, and I'm like, I know it's great, isn't it? But it's really funny because again, what you get acclimated to, and we were like at the park, they had a band at night or whatever, and one of our friends that was with us was like, "Ugh, I'm gonna need a cold towel to put on my neck or something." And I'm like, "What?" And I noticed that everybody around me is kind of sweating, and they're kind of trying to stay out of the sun, and I'm like an idiot. I'm like, "This is amazing. This is fantastic. I wanted this for like years. I didn't recognize it because you don't realize what you miss." Because it's there all the time. So yeah, today's good for me.
Wisconsians are all like, we know who the transplants are here. Like,
oh yeah. Oh, I stand
the guys in
yeah.
coats when it's 60.
Yeah.
Yep, that too.
Oh my goodness, Greg, it is great to have you on the show, man. It's good to just hear your voice and see you here. Danny and I were just talking about the fact that Home Dad Con's just a few short weeks away, basically, or because feels like it's barely even months away, but that it's always exciting to get together and especially hang out with you. And this is going to be just a fun conversation about a dad's group and just kind of what you're doing with your breakout session, not giving too much away, but just a nice little teaser for folks. And I feel like that session itself, which I've done before in the past for a convention as well, has always been well attended. Guys have lots of questions because everybody's trying to figure out how do I grow a community in my area and kind of thing. And so I'm excited to hear what you've got to say about that as well. But yeah, man, tell us a little bit about kind of how you got involved with the Milwaukee Dads group and City Dads.
Sure. It was actually attending the breakout session you just mentioned. You and I believe it was Charlie O'Hara put it on.
Oh man, was
and
it
I
that
rushed
long
home.
ago?
It was, yeah, that was Minneapolis 19, I think. And after that, I felt energized like you always do after the convention and rushed home to be like, all right, I got to find my Milwaukee City Dads group. And much to my chagrin, there wasn't one. So I thought about it for about a month, got in touch with Matt Schneider of City Dads and worked it out with him and started the whole process of of getting it going. Then we had our first event in December of 2019, which was amazing timing. Let's get
Mhm.
this big social club going where everybody gets together in December of 2019. Um, so so we went virtual shortly after that, as you can imagine. But and that was kind of all she wrote as far as getting it started. Felt the energy when I was up there and knew I needed a community locally uh, of dads to keep that home dad con vibe going.
Being that it was something though that you didn't find anything going on up there, so it basically had to be an organic grown type of group or whatever.
Hmm.
What did you run into as far as getting that going? I mean, I hear guys all the time talk about like how hard it is, or they don't know where to start, or anything along those lines. Like, what was that like for you?
It was definitely a challenge. You'd start an event, you'd create an event, and a bunch of people would say, "Oh, that sounds awesome. I'll be there." Or moms, wives, girlfriends would be like, "Oh, this is great for my husband. I'm going to tell him about it. He'll be there." And then I'd show up and there'd be nobody else there. Me and my son, which was fine. We got to go to the zoo. We got to go to a playground. It was still fun, but that was definitely a challenge. Growing it organically and getting people to buy in and initially take that first step is really challenging because it's kind of putting yourself out there. Especially I find for people my age group. I'm almost 40, but that was like before the time you met people online and then went and hung out with them. There weren't all
Mhm.
the apps and meetups and stuff like that when I was in my formidable years. Finding other dads that were willing to do that sometimes was difficult. It's kind of an awkward thing if you're not used to it, being like, oh yeah, I met these guys online. Let's all go hang out at a bar somewhere,
Right.
or go to a playground, bring my kids around them. It's a challenge, and that was hard. But now that we've kind of grown and gotten the group to the size that it is, and people are seeing us on social media, like, oh, it's just dads hanging out with their kids and hanging out together and having fun. I think it's easier now for
Mhm.
people to step outside their comfort zone and come join us.
I think it says a lot too to your dependability because one of the things I noticed, like you said, and it's normal, I think, for especially if you have young kids, for you to have to cancel stuff. And
Hmm.
it's not really intentional. It's just like, oh yeah, so and so did this, and there are we got hand, foot, and mouth disease from the playground or something. And you never know what's going to happen with little kids, right?
Right.
But having somebody that is going to be there every single time, which
Hmm.
I think is a huge tribute to you and to the other guys in the group, where you just say, "Yeah, I'll be there," and however you do it, you make sure you're there.
Yeah,
The
that's
commitment is
huge.
amazing.
That's huge. Having a few dads that are also into, if they say they're going to be there, you can almost guarantee they're going to be there unless something comes up. They're not
Mhm.
just gonna, I don't feel like coming today.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't feel like coming and they don't come. That's fine. It is what it is. But having a core group of dads that I know if they say, "Hey, I'm going to be here," makes it a lot more rewarding and gives me a lot more motivation to keep doing things,
You
Yeah.
keep
talk
keep
about
creating events. And
Yeah, and you talk about speaking of events, you talk about going like to the playground with your kids, which I think is a huge benefit. Finding those things that
Mhm.
you can do with your kids, go to the library for story time or whatever it might be. But you also do events that are only for dads, like that are no kid events. How
Yeah,
successful have those been?
to be honest, those are probably our most successful. I'm guessing a lot of the chapters around the country would say the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, there's dads wanna socialize most of the time, and once a month isn't too much to ask. Usually, it's not too much to weigh on a family. So we had a Brewers game. We went to a Milwaukee Brewers game earlier this year. There were, I think, a dozen of us came.
Nice.
We had a round of golf earlier this summer, and we had to say, sorry, we filled up. You missed the RSVP deadline, but towards the end, people started messaging me, "Hey, you still got room? Still got room?" Didn't make tea times. They're really really popular.
Mhm.
A brewery tour, stuff like that is always very well attended. We did a last January we did a camp out where we were supposed to have about a dozen people, but it
Yeah.
happened to be the only blizzard of
Right.
the entire winter. The
And I,
only time we got more than like 2 inches of snow, And while we're up there setting up, we ended up getting like 18 inches of snow, and then the next day the temperature dropped to the negatives, and it was just freezing. But it was awesome. We had myself and four other dads
Hmm.
still made the trip, and it was fun. A 2 hour drive, or what's normally a 2 hour drive, took me about four and a half.
Ooh.
But it was fun. It was rewarding. Um, yeah, the dad only events are definitely probably our most well attended. We do two of those a month. I try to. We're kind of in the dog days of summer now, where I'm either traveling or a lot of the other dads are traveling, and it's harder because kids are off school. They have their events and stuff. But we try to do a dad's night out every single month, and then a dad's coffee break that they can bring their kids to, and a good handful of them do. I do too sometimes. Where it's just having that kind of set thing on the calendar helps quite a bit too. So
Hmm.
people know they can look forward to doing that, and even if that's the only one thing they can get to a month, they know they have that time to socialize outside the house or work or whatever, wherever they are.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. The group always to me feels sort of like running a business in a way, like a small business kind of deal, because
Hmm.
you build everything up and hey, like I have this to offer you, and you just kind of wait and see who's going to respond to it or whatnot. And it took me a while to kind of understand that was going to be the case, because I feel the same way. Like there were times where I would set things up and there was like nobody coming, or maybe a couple people showed up, and then you got your regular guys that you could always count on. And so yeah, it's quite a battle, but yeah, like you said, you just keep persevering through it, and eventually like more and more people catch on for sure. You live in Wisconsin, and I just, for whatever reason, my ADHD brain went to the that 90s show, which is a spinoff of that 70s show. I don't know if you've seen that 90s show. It's on Netflix or
I
whatever,
haven't
but
seen the '90s one. No, I've seen the '70s show and then a little bit of when they did that
yeah.
'80s show.
So the 90s, they actually it was kind of funny. So they had an episode where Red was just sort of battling with the fact that he's retired and he doesn't have any real friends anymore, and so he's having a hard time with it. And so the ladies in the group, like his wife and his daughter-in-law, were trying to kind of show him like, hey, like, it doesn't hurt to like have some other guy friends in your life, like to be able to talk to or whatever. And of course, Bob, his next door neighbor, who, he always kind of found annoying in some ways, but at the same time too, like deep down, like he liked being around him, came back into the picture of things. And I felt like just watching that, I was just like, like that generation, that's where they are. That's what they're, dealing with right now. And I feel like as our generation, people in their 40s and 50s, where uh, this idea of finding new friends later on in life is definitely kind of breaking the mold of what used to be. But at the same time, too, uh, once once you get guys who understand the importance of it and actually take the time to, um, really just be like, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. It is amazing to see how many of them are like, oh man, like I did not realize like how bad I needed this. Like you were talking about having the dads meetups and things like that. And that's basically the same thing I see with the Cincinnati group. And we do it every other Thursday dad's night out, and I've usually got a consistent 6 to 8 guys that show up, and
Mhm.
we're just sitting around talking and just sharing life or whatever. And it's amazing to afterwards hear some of the stories that they share about how like, oh man, I'm so glad I came. Like it gave me a chance to talk to so and so about this, and just it projected, propelled me forward with, the things I was going through. So, too, I was curious, like, so some dads groups also get where you get different, I guess, like people reach out with different resources and things like that. Have you found like where, like family lawyers, that kind of stuff, or do they reach out to you at all? Like, hey, like, if somebody's looking for something, like, do you guys have anything like that that goes on with the dads group?
Someone actually did reach out to us a couple months ago. Shoot, I don't want to say what it was because I can't remember the name of the organization right now,
That's
but it
okay.
was for mothers dealing with postpartum depression.
Mhm.
and they asked if they could put Milwaukee Dads Group on there as a resource for the dads in that situation.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
And of course, I said, yeah, that sounds great. I don't know if anybody that's joined since then has found us through that, but yeah, there we've been a source of support for dads in the area that are going through some things. I like to think so.
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to find dads who are their families are moving into the community, like into the city, and they'll find
Hmm.
the group on Facebook. I got a private group on Facebook, and they get in there, and the first thing they're like, what brought you to the group? And they're like, we're moving into the area, and I want to connect with other dads and ask questions. And then once they get in, they're like, okay, like what are the neighborhoods would look like? What do the school districts look like and stuff like that? And it's amazing just to see the crowdsourcing of that goes on with that kind of those kind of questions.
I was just going to say, I think every family benefits from that. Anybody that you have a community that you can reach out to, and especially for not just at-home dads in general, we don't have those resources. They're not as readily available. We're kind of, in a lot of ways, you'll figure it out. And you do. That's what you're taught to do. You handle it, right? But I think, and we've said this many times on the podcast, we feel like every man needs a mentor and a men's group, right? And so if you don't have one in your area, like you didn't, and Milwaukee is a big place, so you have a lot more to deal with, but like even in a smaller town, I wonder if you could, and again, we don't want to get fully into, if everybody wants to know Greg's secrets, you got to come to the convention, right? But I wonder if you could give us like one tip that you think would be the main thing that you need to remember or consider when it comes to starting and maintaining a men's group. Because a lot of us have no idea, where do I start? Do I just start a
Hmm.
Facebook group? Do I put up flyers at the library? But what would be like, again, we don't want everything, but just like one
Sure.
tip that you think would be a good, solid thing everyone could do.
I think just getting your group out there, your idea out there is the main thing because
Mhm.
there is an audience for it. Um, my experience, there were dads that wanted it, and it took a while to build, but just getting that you have a group out there, reach out to various other parenting groups, helped quite a bit once I did that, specifically mom groups in the area. We got a lot of our active members from that. So if I had one tip without giving away everything, is get your group out there in just about any way that you can that makes sense. Plaster it at libraries, at coffee shops, at indoor play cafes, things like that. Those are a big thing here because it's cold all the time,
Mhm.
or 9 months out of the year. Not today, but you know, playgrounds where they allow you to post things like that, neighborhood groups, stuff like that, and that'll help quite a bit. The more people that have eyeballs on your group, the more active participants you're going to have.
Advertise, advertise, advertise.
Yeah.
Hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, definitely advertising is interesting for sure. I think that to just that connection of things can get interesting. I know that like City Dads for a while was equipping me
Hmm.
with like business cards or whatever, and I always found it interesting. I'd give one out to somebody, and I'm like, okay, is this gonna go anywhere or whatever? And you just never knew how that was gonna play out. And I feel like too, like when it comes to just being in like a group of any kind, like if you're looking for it, then the necessity is there, and so you're more motivated to get involved if it's something like, oh yeah, that sounds great, sure,
Hmm.
yeah, let me see what that is. Like more times than not, like that is the, yeah, I can almost bet I will not see you
Right.
coming out to anything until it is most vital. And I've seen too where dads like have who I've come into contact with, you have that conversation and it's like that. And then, you know, maybe a couple months, maybe a year down the road, they pop back in and they're like, yeah, so life changed and this is what's going on. And I really could use this group. And it's like, there you go. Like
Yeah.
at least the
Right.
seed was
Offering
planted.
a variety of things of activities too helps quite a bit. So someone will come up to you at we've had it before where we've been out at like a brewery tour. Someone comes up and, what are you guys doing? Oh well, we're Milwaukee Dads Group, and they're like, well, do you do anything else? I have a 3 and a 6-year old at home, And even though they're at the brewery, well, they're not actually interested in that kind of stuff. But all of a sudden, a month later, they show up at a play group or something, and like, oh yeah, we ran into you at the brewery. Um,
Nice.
some people are active, some people like doing sports, some people don't, some people like going to the library, some people like just hanging out drinking coffee. So ordering or offering a wide range too helps a lot. I mean, you got to want to do it yourself as an organizer. It has to be things you enjoy, or you're gonna burn out and not want to do the group anymore. But yeah, offering quite a bit too.
Yeah,
Mm.
speaking of the burnout,
You experiencing a little burnout? Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say speaking of the burnout, well, I just feel like a lot of times when a group like this gets going too, like it is it's a lot of heavy lifting, and you can get burnout really easily, especially when you're really excited about it and you're having a hard time finding other people that are really excited about it. This kind of goes along with just the breakout session in the past. Like I've seen where different guys who have come and attended the breakout eventually then are like, hey, like, can I call and just like talk to you about this on the side or, whatever it is? And there's a few guys that I still have contact with from time to time who will share their, just frustrations or even their successes and things along those lines. And I feel like that's the other thing that as city dads organizers that run into a lot is just, being open and ready for other dads at home dad con to come up and just be like, hey, like I heard you run XYZ group and I'm trying to do this, but I can't quite figure it out. And so you kind of have this moment where like, all right, like let's sit down and just chat real quick and, tell me what you're doing and let me see if I can give you some pointers and then go from there. Have
Yeah.
you experienced any of that
Yep,
at the
absolutely.
past conventions?
Most recently, just in Milwaukee last September, had a couple of different guys come up. I know one started his dad's group now, and I think it's doing pretty well. I try to follow her along on the socials a little bit for him, and yeah, it's doing well. People will lean on you once you have an established group, and try to give them good advice. Not every group's going to be the same. Not everybody's going to want their group to be the same, but try to give good advice, and that's what I hope to get across with my breakout session too. Give good advice and understand that
Yeah.
it's not that conformed thing. You don't have to conform to certain boundaries and stuff to be successful. You gotta make what works for you and what works for your community and the dads around you.
Yeah, definitely. I think too, like you get, guys see these big city groups, like, just
Hmm.
big metropolis type places, and they're like, well, I don't, I don't want to travel into that area, or I don't go into main town, like main city area or whatever it is, but I'm on the outskirts or whatever. And I remember talking to, I think it was Kyle Denny back in Orlando or Minneapolis. I'm not sure. I think it was Minneapolis actually. And I remember he was asking about, what do you do when you're outside and you want to connect with these other, this bigger group or whatever. And I always just was like, connect with them and figure out a way to, if you can promote it within theirs and then also promote it, in your neighborhood, then go that route. But I find that a lot of times I get dads who, they live 35, 40 minutes away from Cincinnati and they're like, what do I do? I'm like, well, one, you're in this closed group. Like, feel free to, talk with me. I'll help you get it promoted or whatever. And that way the guys that are around you have a chance to go because yeah, there are times where it's like I can't travel that
Hmm.
distance. It just does not work for me. And so being able to, you know, have that a little bit of flexibility and kind of expanding out in a way. I feel like probably Milwaukee's got to
Hmm.
be similar to that because I know there are lots of little like you know suburbs or whatever outside of the main city area, and this one like is that something like you've had any experience with
Oh
guys
yeah,
having that sort of
absolutely.
concern?
And a lot of times those are the guys that want to be really involved, but like you said, that we're in Milwaukee, if we're having all our events in Milwaukee proper and they live in out in Hartford or something like that, like Paul Gordon, for instance, although he comes to everything anyways. He's a
Yeah,
he's a very social guy.
really
Um
is.
very helpful or very grateful for Paul. But yeah, you'll get guys that want to participate, but they live, 30 miles east of or west of the city. You can't go east of the city here. West of the city, and you have to try and kind of accommodate them, meet them in the middle, and say, look, yeah, we'll start this. We'll do this play group here. We'll do that. We'll do the brewery in Waukesha this time. And you know, if you enjoy it and you want to commit to it and you want to host some events, like let me know. We'll chat about it. You need that when you're trying to grow your group too, because I'm on the south side of Milwaukee. I can't necessarily drive an hour to go to the northwest part of for a meetup all the time. But if you have dads that are in other areas willing to host these things, and we have had quite a few of those, it makes it a lot easier to give the support and the camaraderie that dads are seeking.
Yeah, definitely. Stevens Point is where's the distance from you
2 hours,
to
2.5
Milwaukee,
hours, something
Danny?
like that. I don't remember. A couple hours. It's not far. I mean, it's
Oh,
too
Stevens
far to
Point's
go.
about
okay, so that's
no, it's like smack dab, pretty much right in the center of the state, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Milwaukee's down in the
Equidistant from
lower
everything.
right corner.
yeah.
Hmm.
When you were Danny, you were talking recently, I think, on one of our episodes about like basically trying to get something started, right?
Yeah, we have a men's group
in your
here
small community.
that I joined. It's not a dad group specifically,
Yeah.
but it's been very cool. And it's again, it's one man that just decided he wants more friends, and he it was really one of the first meetings they asked like, what do you want? Where why are you here? What are you wanting to get out of this? And one of the guys said, I just want to go somewhere where I can talk about something other than Packers and beer. And I thought, wow, yeah, because that's a huge part. Packers beer and the weather are kind of the things that you always revolve around because they're such big things. So yeah, but we have a men's group here. Fortunately, I didn't have to start it. I say fortunately because I do a lot of stuff already, and I just was not motivated to get a men's group going. But yeah, we've got that one. It's not the same. It's nowhere near as good
Yeah.
as the Milwaukee Dads group, of course, because you're like the pinnacle, or the
How could
Cincinnati
it be?
Dads group. Not even close. Right. But it is fun. And again, it gives you that opportunity to hang out with other dads or other men. Most of them, the guys in my group do have kids. We had a lot of them over to my house for Father's Eve. And I mean, it's really cool, especially because we are such a small community. I'll see them at the school, whether or after school, like a concert's going, and then they got a kid that's in the band or orchestra. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, so Home Dad Con has been, kind of doing these breakout sessions for a while and everything. What is it that you'd like about being a part of that? Like that's, for some people it's a little bit scary to be like, hey, I'm going to give this presentation in front of a bunch of people. Like what did that kind of look like? How did that transpire for you to want to step up and do the
This will be
presentation this year?
I think my fourth in-person convention and fifth if you count with the online one in 2020, and I've gotten a lot out of it. And I started to think where I could give back a little bit and maybe help some other people on a larger scale than just being there and hanging out and having fun with people. And I think it's something that's pertinent to the mission of the Home Dad Network. And I think I can help some dads, hopefully even just one or two would be great. And that's kind of what motivated me. It's something that's on subject that I know quite a bit about, that I'm comfortable standing up and talking about for a while and answering questions. My hope is that it's a dialogue and not just 10 faces sitting there staring back at me. But if it is, I'm ready for that too. So that's kind of what it boiled down to. I think it can be helpful, and I have the knowledge and the expertise in how to do it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. It's just one of those breakouts that I feel like is sort of a the mental health breakout. Like they're things that a lot of guys, they look forward to seeing on the schedule every year. So
And it's really cool too, because as your kids get older, we have a lot of parents that are at home parents, and their kids get up to school age or even after, like, well, I can go back to work now, so you kind of lose those people out of your dad groups. And so we have new dads coming into the organization all the time, and they've never even heard of a dad group. So I love it that we're presenting this more often, and hopefully we'll keep doing it regularly, because there's so many people that need it. We get the new dads that come in, and they've got a place now. They know where they can go and who they can talk to. So
That's how I found it way back when I started staying home with my kid. I Googled like at home dad groups Milwaukee, like specifically, and then I found on Facebook the National At Home Dad Network. I remember just being like, Adrian, my wife's name is Adrian. What do you think about me going up to Minneapolis for a few days? She's like, well, for what? I'm like, for this convention,
right,
for
yeah,
other at-home dads. And she's like, okay. And then I'm like, well, shoot, I don't know anybody at all. But I saw that there was the soccer game going on that night. My plane got in like an hour and a half before the game started. I remember getting off the train and basically like running with my bags down the sidewalk, yelling at you guys like, hey, I'm Greg. I'm supposed to be here for the soccer game. Can you please hold on a second? I think Brock was one of the guys actually that I recognized
Nice.
from the Facebook group. And I'm like, I'm just going to check my bag with the bellhop and I'll be right back, and just hopped on. But that's the really cool part about the National At Home Dad Network, is it's so welcoming. There's if you're having trepidation or any kind of like anxiousness about doing it because you won't know anybody, you'll know people within half an hour of hanging out. There's so many different personalities too, that even if I don't match your personality, or Brock doesn't, or Danny doesn't, or whoever, you're likely to find somebody or a group of people that you're going to get along with and make connections with for the rest of your life.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. I do remember that actually, with you running down there.
Yep, pulling my suitcase behind me.
There was a big group of guys.
Yeah, it was a huge group, but I'm a big loud guy.
Yeah,
so
we took a big group.
That didn't faze me at all. I was comfortable yelling across city blocks to ask you to wait, So
yeah, I think the folks on the train there were like, "Oh man, it's balloon hooligans coming on here."
Right, my first ever soccer game I ever attended, I think.
Yeah, we're all, none of us are even like wearing their stuff. We're just we're just like, all right, we're just getting on here. Let's do this thing. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that was fun.
Yeah, I'm bummed that there's nothing like sports wise anything going on in St. Louis, but there's plenty of things definitely scheduled, so that it's still going to be a great time for sure. So Greg, man, this has been an awesome conversation. Honestly, like I feel like just, the tip of the iceberg of being able to, do what we normally do when we all get together and just hanging out and sitting down and just really just enjoying each other's company. And I'm definitely looking forward to that here in the upcoming months. It's only going to be like 70 some days when this publishes. So it's crazy. There. Yeah, man. Thanks so much for coming on and talking and telling us a little bit about your breakout, and hopefully others that are listening are intrigued. And if they were ever wondering what to do, like, they know that you're presenting definitely a very vital breakout for them to get some good information.
Agreed.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate getting the chance to come on and talk about it.
Well, that's the show, everybody, and we will talk to you all next week.
Good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.